All right, so this is going to be for section 5.1. Let's just start off with a little activity here. So here I have a picture of a girl, and let's just make a list of some characteristics that we can observe about her below. Okay, so you might say, okay, she's got red hair. It's curly. She's wearing glasses. Looks like she has brown eyes. Her ears are pierced. She's holding a book, so maybe she knows how to read. What else? She's Caucasian. I don't know. I think that's a pretty good list. Now, of my list here, which of the following do you think she obtained from her parents? Okay. Okay, so she got red hair from her parents. That it's curly. Brown eyes for sure. Caucasian. Glasses could be. Okay, that's supposed to be a check mark. She could have got, inherited poor eyesight from her parents, but it can also be from her environment. Is she a gamer? Is she just being abusive with her eyes? Now, these two right here, ears are pierced, knows how to read. These are characteristics that she acquired throughout her lifetime. You don't come out of the womb with pierced ears. You don't come out of the womb knowing exactly how to read. So these are things that she acquired in her lifetime. So I'm going to tell a story about Gregor Mendel and pea plants and how he noticed traits being passed on from one generation to the next. So I'm going to talk about how he performed cross-pollination experiments, how traits are inherited from one generation to the next, and then talk a little bit about dominant and recessive factors. Now, parents and offspring are similar. We've discussed this in meiosis, how you are a mixture of mom and dad. You get half your genetic information from mom, half your genetic information from dad. And so organisms like you have a unique combination of characteristics that are known as traits. Now, traits can be categorized as either inherited or acquired. Inherited means that it's passed down from the parents. Acquired means that the traits they were developed or learned during your lifetime. Acquired traits can be the result from interaction with your environment, how you interact with it. I just told you about glasses. Are you a gamer, like eye strain? Are you constantly looking at a screen, or looking up at the sun when you're not supposed to be looking up at the sun, and so on and so forth. Take a look at this picture. If a father works out as a bodybuilder for many years, what are the chances his offspring will inherit strong muscles? Answer, it's zilch, zero. Okay, just because dad is very, very muscular, he worked towards that, doesn't mean that you're gonna come out looking that way either. Okay, this is something he acquired in his lifetime. All right. So early ideas about heredity. First off, heredity means the passing of traits from parents to offspring. Now, this gentleman down here, Gregor Mendel, was an Austrian monk. Now, a monk is someone that lives on a monastery, and they kind of live a life of service and solitude. They do a lot of reflection. Gregor Mendel, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to be a teacher. However, he suffered from test anxiety and couldn't pass the examinations to become a certified teacher. So he instead decided to pursue, living on this monastery and kind of conducting his own experiments, and because he loved to dabble in the sciences and the math. So he performed experiments that answered questions about how traits were inherited. And genetics is the study of how those traits are passed from parents to offspring. So Gregor Mendel used pea plants in his experiments. And you might be thinking, why in the world would you use pea plants? Number one, they reproduce very quickly. You can get a lot of crop in a matter of weeks. Number two, they have easily observed traits. You're either this or you're that. You're not, a variation in between. Humans, we do have some either-or traits. Attached earlobes, unattached earlobes. Hitchhiker's thumb, non-hitchhiker's thumb. Dimpled chin, non-dimpled chin. Dimples, no dimples. Widow's peak versus no widow's peak. So we do have some traits that are either-or. But human height, is that either-or? You're either 6'4" or you're 5'4". No, we don't. We have a variation. So human height, it's not as easily observable. Yes, you can tell someone is tall versus short, but you can have a variation in between. So with pea plants, they are easily observable. You're either purple flower or you're white flowered. You're tall or you're short. You have yellow seed versus green seed, wrinkle seed, smooth. So it's easily observable, either this or you're that. The third reason why Gregor Mendel used pea plants was that the experimenter can control which pairs of plants reproduce. Pea plants, they have flowers, and flowers have both male and female reproductive parts. And so Gregor Mendel could go in and remove one of the sex parts just so he could make sure that the plants themselves do not self-pollinate. So he could control the crossing or pollination of these plants. Now, in his experiments, when Gregor Mendel took a true breeding plant and it self-pollinated, so he didn't remove the male or female reproductive part. The pollen from the male part of the same flower fell onto the female reproductive part of the same flower. It always produces offspring that match the parent. So he did this with purple-flowered pea plants and purple-flowered pea plants. When they self-pollinate, you always get a purple flower offspring. Same thing with the white-flowered pea plants. When they self-pollinated, he always got a white-flowered offspring. By cross-pollinating, okay, so two plants, pollen from plant A lands on plant B. Now we have a cross-pollination going on here. Mendel was able to select which plants pollinated other plants. So for every cross-pollination that Mendel did, he recorded which traits appeared in the offspring. And he was very thorough with his experiments. He had notebooks upon notebooks of the data here, and you'll see an actual table of that in this presentation. So this is the experiment. He took a true breeding purple plant and crossed with a true breeding purple plant, and he got a 100% purple offspring. So he's like, okay, let's do it with the white. Took a true breeding white flower plant, crossed with a true breeding white flower pea plant, and he got white offspring. All right, cool. Now, what would happen if we took a purple offspring, that's always 100% purple, true breeding purple parent, and crossed it with a true breeding white parent? The offspring were 100% purple. We call this the first generation, and we don't call them purebred or true breeding anymore. We call them hybrids. The parents were purebred because they always produced. The offspring always, looked like the parents, but here, they're hybrids. Okay, so he's like, all right, let's cross two hybrids. And then he saw something really strange. 75% of the offspring were purple and 25% were white. That white trait reappeared. In the first generation, there was no white offspring. And he was like, whoa, what is going on here? What happened to white? And now it's reappearing here? So the white trait reappeared in that second generation. And he always noticed that ratio between purple and white in that second generation was 3-to-1, always. So here's a picture diagram to show you his experiment. Purple pure breeding plant crossed with a white pure breeding plant. This is the hybrids, all purple. So then he crossbred them, or self-fertilized. So it was two hybrids. The parents are two hybrids. And he noticed that in the second generation, it was always 3-to-1. 3 purple flowers to 1 white flower. He did this with other traits found in pea plants. So he didn't just do it with flower color. He did it with pea height. He did it with this texture of the seed. He did it with a whole bunch of other traits in pea plants, and he always noticed the same thing. You took a true breeding tall, you crossed with a true breeding short. The first generation, they exhibited one of the parents, in this case, tall. He self-pollinated that tall offspring, so tall crossed with tall, and the result was 3-to-1. 25% tall, 25% short. So he concluded that each plant has to have two factors that control a trait. Okay, so if we take a look at this purple-flowered, true breeding purple-flowered pea plant, and we use the letter R. Well, here's one factor, big R, and here's the other factor, big R. And these two factors help code for that trait. Here is the true breeding white. It's factor A and factor B, little r, that make it white. Now, remember with meiosis, you get half from one parent and half from the other. And so in this first generation, you got big R, little r, and they were all purple. Now remember what he did with that first generation. He allowed them to self-fertilize. So now this is going to be parent 1, big R, little r. And this is parent 2, big R, little r. And this is called a Punnett Square. I'm kind of jumping the gun here. But what happens is that, remember, you get half from mom, half from dad. So if this is dad and this is mom, half from dad, half from mom. So this individual is big R, big R. Half from dad, half from mom, big R, little r. Half from dad, half from mom, big R, little r. Half from dad, here's that little r, and then here's the second little r. Now, if you have a big R, you are going to be purple no matter what. Okay? Oh, God. Purple. Yay. Okay, purple. So, what color is this individual? Purple. Look, big R, they got a big R, they're going to be purple. Big R, little r, they got a big R, so they're going to be purple. Big R, little r, they got a big R, so they're going to be purple. 1, 2, 3. 3 purples, right? Now, the only way you can be white is you have 2 factors that code for white. And how many white flowers do we have? 1. There's that 3-to-1 ratio. So a genetic factor that blocks another genetic factor is dominant, and we use uppercase letters to show that. So if you're going to be big W, and they're saying big W here codes for the purple trait, you're going to be purple. But here, big W, little w, we have 1 of each. This is a hybrid. But because it has a big W, it blocks the other genetic factor here, this lowercase letter. So it's going to be purple. And if you are little w, then you are white. So a genetic factor that is blocked by the presence of a dominant allele, as in the case here, is called a recessive. So this little w is recessive, and this big W is dominant. Okay, so that does it for section 5.1. We will move on to section 5.2 the next time we meet for class.